MMA rants and raves, the question: will Fedor Emelianenko sign with the UFC? You gotta be freaking kidding me. You gotta be kidding me. You know what the real question is, guys? The real question is, will the UFC sign with Fedor Emelianenko? What does this man have to prove that he should sign with them? That he should face lesser talent than he's already faced in his career? Let's just see who he's faced in his career. Nokaut twice, arguably the greatest MMA heavyweight of all time. He practically toyed with him in the ring. He didn't even hit Fedor in one of his fights. Barely did. Defeated Mirko Cro Cop, another legend, one of the greatest of all time. That's the Mirko Cro Cop we used to know, the guy who was kicking people to death. Defeated him. He beat former UFC heavyweight champion Mark Coleman. He defeated Randleman, former UFC champion Arlovsky. When he knocked Arlovsky out and the way he landed with his eyes open, I thought he was dead. That's how hard he hit him. Defeated Tim Silver, former UFC champ. Defeated Sammy Schultz. I can't think of, the guy has knocked off heavyweight after heavyweight. He's knocked off all kinds of different fighters in all different weight classes. And then he took that monster. I don't know if anybody would ever get in the ring with such a weight difference. That guy, that Hangman Choi, who was a very good kickboxer, not an MMA guy, but nearly tore his arm off. So who else is there left? The guy has beaten the best already. So they're making the claim he's not testing himself. He's not fighting the greatest fighters in the world right now. Oh, really? Okay. Well, let's see who's in the UFC right now. Let's see. The UFC heavyweights right now, all right, are they better? Are they better than the guys that he's already faced in his career? Who do they have? Lesnar is not around anymore. He's out of the picture. Okay, so we have Cain Velasquez, we have Shane Carwin, and we have Frank Mir. Who has Shane Carwin beaten? What's so great about him? He's defeated Gabriel Gonzaga. It's an impressive victory. Carwin, he has all the potential in the world to be a great fighter. But is he better than who Fedor has already faced? Of course not. Is he better than Nokaut in his prime? He's better than Mirko Cro Cop in his prime? Of course not. What about Cain Velasquez? Who has Cain Velasquez beaten? He hasn't beaten one big star. He hasn't beaten one big former champion that I can think of. Is he better than who Fedor has already faced? Of course not. Then we have Frank Mir. Frank Mir, you got me. Great fighter. He's beaten great fighters already. He's beaten champions. He is a great fighter. So what is Fedor going to do? He's supposed to sign with the UFC just to face Frank Mir? You got to be kidding me. Of course not. Let me explain something to you. This guy's a franchise player. He's considered a franchise player in other sports. You look at Michael Jordan. You know how many teams wanted to sign this guy that will pay him any money, even more than the Chicago Bulls? I mean, what are you going to say? The guy won 5 championships. He won 5 championships. So what are you going to say? That, well, he doesn't want to sign with the Western Conference because he has an easier schedule in the East. Say, well, now he has to sign with a varsity team to face the competition of a varsity team because he hasn't faced that competition yet. You got to be kidding me. That's the same thing. It's like saying Fedor has to downgrade himself to fight lesser talent than he's already fought and defeated and destroyed just to prove himself. The guys in the UFC right now are not better than the guys he's already faced, so why should he go there? The answer is no. They have to go to him. The UFC has something to prove. Fedor has nothing to prove. They have to go to him to prove that their heavyweights are the best in the world. And that's why Fedor said, co-promote. I'll fight the guys that I want to fight. I'll fight the guys that I feel are going to test my strengths, the best competition. I don't want you to put on some cornball fights just to fill up a card and try to make a main event and say, yeah, well, I want to see how he's going to do against this guy. He wants to fight the best talent available at hand. And they have to put across those fights. And another thing is, people turn on their TV sets and they're watching fighters. They want to see the greatest fighters. They're not turning on their TV sets to see the UFC. They want to see the fighters. That's what it is. The proof is here. They had their biggest turnout when Fedor fought Brett Rogers. They had over 5 million people that watched that fight. I don't know if that's ever happened before. A lot of people wanted to see it because he was fighting. It was that main event. That's what it was. They weren't turning their TV on to see Jake Shields or Mayhem Miller or Gerhard Masasi. They were coming to see Fedor Emelianenko fight. At 33 years old, if this guy retired today, at the age of 33, he would be considered the greatest MMA fighter of all time, the greatest fighter of all time. In my opinion, the greatest athlete of all time. Right now, he's beaten everybody there is to beat, and it cannot be beaten. The guy cannot be beaten, and you can't submit the guy. They had him down. Nogueira, the greatest submission specialist of all time, the greatest Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu guy of all time, try to submit the guy. Nobody would even get on the ground with this guy. He was so dangerous. Fedor got on the ground with him. Try to submit him. You can't submit the guy. You can't submit him. Can't knock him out. There's no other way to beat him. The guy never makes mistakes. He sees an opening. He capitalizes it. Always hits that punch. It's on the mark when he has to hit it. The guy is an incredible athlete. It's not just his physical abilities. The guy is something out of a Dostoevsky novel. Now, from a business perspective, I totally understand. They don't want to legitimize Strikeforce. They don't want to say, well, we're doing business with them and we're going to help our competition. That's understandable. These guys are very good businessmen. However, when you have a guy that's that good, that's miles ahead of everybody else, and he's 33 years old, MMA careers are very short-lived, you have to take this chance and opportunity right now. Because years later, you're going to say the UFC has always had the greatest fighters. There's going to be an asterisk there. Never had Fedor. Never fought with Fedor. And they're going to look back on that, and it's really, really going to be a stain on their reputation that they didn't have the greatest fighters in the world. They should definitely do this. They've done it before. They did it with Chuck Liddell with Pride. You mean to tell me that Chuck Liddell is better than Fedor Emelianenko? I mean, come on, you got to be kidding me. They did it before. They co-promoted with Pride. Why the heck can't they promote with Fedor? Why can't they co-promote? Why can't they co-promote with Strikeforce? Why not? It's simple. You co-promote with him and you put on a subpar card during that main event. You don't even fight your greatest fighters. You just put your greatest heavyweight against Fedor. You put on any other fighters that you want. Let them put on their fighters. You mix up a card. Nobody really cares. Here's the fight that they want to see. And then you could do another UFC event the same month. They'll make even more money. They'll make a ridiculous amount of money, even co-promoting, and make more money because they'll get so much publicity. More fans will even come to see the UFC. I just don't understand it. It doesn't make any sense from a business perspective, and it doesn't make any sense logically why they don't do this. Maybe there's something that I just don't see over here. I don't know. I want to hear what you guys have to say. Please leave those comments. Please subscribe. And thank you for tuning in.